So I've been asked, is staff important? My answer is not really. I mean, they're in charge of how effective your training is. They have a huge effect on the ability of your players to develop and reach their full potential. They are in charge of essentially everything you're not. I mean, the staff responsibility page in itself has, the staff responsibility page itself has 9 different sections. I mean, but yeah, you're right. Maybe staff is important. Yeah, staff is important. Pay attention. I mean, that's quite a few things, huh? That was half of it. Hey, welcome back to FM for Beginners. My name is Zealand. I'm putting together this whole series as part of the videos I make about Football Manager to help get people into the game and teach you what is going on. And today we are obviously talking about, to me, the next most important thing that you need to address right when you get started in your save, and that is the staff. Woo! Yeah, the staff. No, it's not a glamorous or exciting part of the game, but it is one that if you don't do or don't know how to do, will absolutely screw you like somebody that dropped the soap in the prison. So, is that joke legal? I don't know. Why would it be illegal? It's a free country, YouTube. In order to do that, we're going to have to open up my Twitch save. And if you want to see me playing Football Manager, I do a lot of that on Twitch. The link is down in the description. We have a good time, and hopefully you'll be able to join us for part of that. Unfortunately, I completely forgot. We have our own save for the FM for Beginners section. So let's go down to Football Manager for Beginners. Let's open that save. Focus, Zealand. And that saves with Dynamo Zagreb, a team that I'd absolutely recommend starting a first career with because they're a good team in a bad league with good youth players, right, and enough financial power for you to be able to have a normal feeling save while also getting that out in the wilderness, I'm in Croatia sort of feeling. Not that Croatia's that far away, but it's not the Premier League. We've already taken stock of our team, and now we are going to click on the staff section. The staff, they do everything from what you would think of in real life as setting up the cones for training, being studious, making sure everything looks good there. You can also order them to do just about anything that you don't want to do, which means essentially every other section of the game that we talk about from now to the end of FM for Beginners can essentially be pawned off to the staff if you really don't want to deal with it other than playing the matches yourself, which can also be pawned off to the staff if you just want to go on vacation. You can. And as you might have noticed by now, we have not 1, not 2, but 3 different groups of staff. We have your coaching staff, your traditional coaching staff, then you have your recruitment team and your medical team. You put all 3 of these together, not just for your senior teams, but for your youth teams as well. And the only difference between the guys you're signing for the senior team and the guys you're signing for the youth teams are that the guys in the youth teams, you're probably going to want a better working with youngsters attribute on them. That's just something to keep in mind if you do have a youth team to deal with, which is probably most of you in your first save. We're going to go through each of these 3 sections and talk about what they do. And the first obvious one we should start with is the coaching staff. And the first obvious person that we should start with is an assistant coach. And when we're on this main screen, you can see the number on the left is the number that you have on your team right now, and the number on the right is the number that the board allows you to have financially. And of course, if you go take a quick look at your finances and just look up here, if it says anything but insecure, you're going to be okay to just fill out your entire staff. If it does say insecure, you might want to pick and choose because your club is not doing well financially. I'd probably recommend picking a different save to start off with. But in this coaches section, we see that there is an assistant position. The assistant coach is your lead coach and thusly the most versatile person. We talked about in a previous FM for Beginners video that there is a coach that appraises the players on your team. Typically for me, this is the assistant coach. They provide the second opinion on how good a player is. They would need good judging player ability and good judging potential ability. You can also ask your assistant coach to handle your team talks for you, in which case they would need good motivating. These are the sorts of things that you can look up to fill in your knowledge depending on where in the staff responsibilities you want your assistant coach to show up. They can also take over responsibilities in coach training, which when you go to training and coaches and then you go to edit coach assignments, you can see a full, perhaps complicated looking layout of where your coaches are going to coach. Further complicated by the fact that my Zagreb 2 team, their coaches also participate in first team coaching training, but me, myself, and I as the head coach can take over defending tactical. And this is less complicated than it looks because when you hover over a section, it shows you which attributes are going to affect the coaching of that section. So maybe you just want your assistant coach to be a very good defensive coach. They take over those 2 spots and you're good to go. The assistant coach can be part of a lot, and so can general coaches. That's who's making up the rest of the numbers here, mainly from the B team at the moment, and the B team being like this semi-autonomous this reserve team that's actually playing in its own league that is something we will talk about much later. But you fill out your training areas with different coaches. And so if you are a big enough club and you are allowed to have enough coaches, you ideally want to have a coach that is specifically designated for each category. If you don't, maybe you want a coach that is designated for defending, attacking, and possession. I used to keep a little notepad on my phone where I'd say, Zlatko Stipa Mariana. He is my attacking tactical coach. And so if I let his contract expire at the end of the season, I know that is what I need to replace. Like the assistant coach, one of your coaches could be specifically designated for providing a second opinion on players, because coaches also can be drawn upon in staff responsibilities to provide you that opinion. That is in the advice and reports section and player reports. Any coach that you have, or scout, chief scout, whatever, is going to pop up in that section. So if you happen to find a coach that's great at judging player ability, you can have them provide player reports. And it's absolutely worth, before we continue this video, having a click through the rest of here. I'm not going to go through what all of these things do now, because this staff responsibilities section will continuously come up throughout the rest of Football Manager for beginners. But looking at all of the different things that you can pawn off on different members of your staff is definitely a valuable thing to understand as we go forward talking about what these people do. Then you have a head of youth development. This is a very complicated position. This is somebody that we're going to make entire videos about later, not even in the FM for beginners, just I've made videos entirely about how to get the best head of youth development before. But what you need is a basic understanding is a good personality, which would be model citizen, driven, resolute, ambitious is a good personality, and good judging player potential and judging player ability. That's a good place to start. Snatch somebody like that, and then as you continue to play the game, get a better understanding of what the head of youth development does, because that person is in charge of bringing in your youth intake, which can be wonderful or horrific. But let's go back to the people with coach in their name, because you can assign specific coaches called fitness coaches and goalkeeping coaches. You see, Dynamo already has 2 fitness coaches, and these people are in charge of a very specific section of training. And if you sign somebody as a fitness coach or a goalkeeping coach, they can only coach in those areas. Look at our fitness coach. If we try and have them coach somewhere else, they can't do it. But the advantage of having somebody listed as a fitness coach is that if I go to the Dynamo Zagreb youth team, which I go to Dev Center, the U19s, and then down to training, and then I have to take over the general team training if I want to see this. It pops out on the side, right? And then training overview, training coaches. Took me a long time to get there, but that's there. Edit coach assignments. Then you can see these fitness coaches, they're still down here, right? A normal coach in your senior team is not going to be there. So fitness coaches and goalkeeping coaches, while they are pigeonholed in what they're good at, they are able to coach all the way down your club. B teams, youth teams, they're going to be there and still coaching the same way. And then there's the performance analyst, which is a point and shoot signing. You really just sign somebody that is good at analyzing data and analyzing and has good tactical knowledge, and they're just going to provide you more information than you were getting previously, and better information before and after matches about stuff. Insightful. This brings us to your recruitment team. So now that you have your coaching staff in place, your scouting and transfer team, right? We only have one general manager, which would be a director of football in your game if you're not in the United States, and one scout. So let's start with the general manager. This is the person that takes over all transfer duties that you do not want to deal with. Say you don't want to renew contracts for youth players, you want to leave that to the general manager, you can give it to them. And so a general manager needs to be good at judging players' ability and needs to be good at negotiating, because you can put them in charge of all of the negotiating if you want to. Think about what a director of football does in real life. It's what they do here. Then you have your scout and chief scout. These people are out there to find players. They need good judging player ability and judging player potential. They would also be good to have some adaptability, because if you send them to West Africa, the higher adaptability and determination they have, the faster they're going to be able to start getting reports back to you. There is really no difference between the scout and chief scout. If you can find a scout that has at least decent man management, then that's the one you want to make your chief scout. Usually I just make it my best scout, because that's the person that kind of files the reports with you. Of course, the scouting segment's coming up later in this series. Then you have your recruitment analysts, which Dynamo Zagreb has none of right now. Recruitment analysts, same thing as a performance analyst. They just need to be good at analyzing data. Except this time you also want them, instead of having tactical knowledge, to be good at judging a player's ability. And then what they'll do is they just comb the world. They can analyze players you specifically tell them to, but they'll find players and bring them in through your scouting portal that say, hey, this guy's third in shots in the Brazilian third division. Check him out. And obviously, the better they are at it, the better they are. That pretty much stands for everybody. And then there's some specialty positions. You have your technical director and you have a loan manager. Now, a technical director, if you're at a big club, you're allowed to sign one. This person is the general manager of your staff, which if you watch this video and want to sign all of these people yourself, then you don't need one. What I will do sometimes is sign a technical director and put them in charge of my youth team coaches, because who has the time? You do, though, so set your youth team coaches too. The loan manager is directly in charge of loaning people out that you put on a specific list. I almost never sign this person because I like to micromanage my players' development through the loans, but if you want perhaps even a more realistic feel where you put a player on the loan list, this person's going to try and find the best loan for them and take it off your plate. A lot of money you don't need to spend, though, to get a loan manager if you want to manage it yourself. And then to the last section, which is the medical section. This by far the easiest. You've only got two areas that we're going to talk about. And those two areas are physios and sports scientists. Physios reduce the length of injuries, the better they are, and sports scientists attempt to prevent them. My opinion, you should always have these full no matter what, because nothing can derail a season like a pile of injuries because you forgot to sign any physios or sports scientists. The head physio and head sports scientists, I usually just make the best one, but man management can also factor into that because they are technically in charge of all of the other people in the department. But for physios, you're just looking at physiotherapy. Things like discipline and determination you can use as tiebreakers because they do have a minuscule effect on how good the person is. And on sports scientists, you just want to look at the sports science rating, and that's what you want to use to make your decision. Gotta love it when they make it easy. They boil it down to one rating for you. And then just like that, your entire staff is handled. But you're probably wondering, where in God's green earth am I going to actually sign these people? There is a staff search section. And if you go to new search, we can look for any specific type of person. And here's how I want you to do it, especially if you're not feeling confident in yourself early on. I want you to go to pick, and I want you to go to this button right here. And there is a drop down that will allow you to select from every single type of person you might be trying to sign. So let's say we want a goalkeeping coach, and you just want maybe one for one type of training, one for the other because you're like Manchester United. You click that, it will select all of the things that are important, and you can click OK, and it will go through a search. Now, if I'm Dynamo Zagreb, these attributes are going to be too good. So what I can do is go to specific attributes that are less important, like motivating and determination, instead of in discipline, because obviously goalkeeper shot stopping is going to be much more important for this. And I'll just start clicking those down, and maybe goalkeeper shot stopping down one or two until somebody pops up. There we go. We started finding people. So we found Juan Carlos Aravello, and this might just be the best shot-stopping goalkeeping coach that we could have possibly found. And then you click on him, offer a contract, a little approach to sign, and we run into a situation where he's requesting much more money than we're allowed to have. So what I would typically do is just go back, and we're going to go find somebody else that we can offer a contract to, like, hey, Dominique Bertanowicz. And this guy is within our price range because the board will set a limit on how much you can spend. You don't want to spend $2 million if you don't have $2 million, right? We're going to negotiate. We'll go lower. Make sure that the position is the right one that you want them in, which is goalkeeping coach in this case. And we'll just negotiate lower a few times, save ourselves as much money as possible because there's never a reason not to do that other than laziness. And then you finalize the signing, click exit. In the next couple of days, you'll get the person's response. The only instance you run into problems is if somebody else is trying to sign them, in which case you'll see a wanted sign next to their name. Or if they're already at a club, like this guy's already at Poliquane City. Well, if they're already at a club, then what you might run into is they re-up with that club instead of joining you. And if they are already at a club, there is a compensation that has to be paid. So if we tried to negotiate for this, we see a compensation in the bottom corner. It's always better to sign free agents than people from other clubs. So only sign people from other clubs if it is just obviously the best option that's going to make your staff as good as possible. And if you continuously run into the fact that you do not have enough money for somebody, one, you're probably a tiny club, so congratulations on starting boldly. Two, go to the job center and go to place advert. And if you place an advertisement for a position, the only people that will apply to it will accept the amount of money that you are offering. So that's a good way to not have to spend an hour looking for one goalkeeping coach that will accept the amount of money you're offering. So it should take a week or two, right? If you're posting at the job center, it'll take 2 to 3 weeks because it's going to take a week or two for the job center to get back to you with applicants. And then you'll be accepting all of those offers. Your staff is set. You go into the staff responsibilities and you distribute all of the things that we're going to talk about in the rest of this series series to the people that you want them to go to. You set up your training, and then you're done for the year. That's the good thing about staff. They handle all the things you can't see, so you just have to handle it once, and then your team is set up for success. I'll look forward to the rest of the series. If you guys are enjoying this, make sure that you hit the subscribe button and like these videos so that we can keep doing more helpful things. Okay, cool. Check out the links in the description, by the way. I hear they make your life better, and the editor, Reese, his stuff is down there too. And he's kind of cute. And I think he's single. Reese, are you seeing someone?